When you can go anywhere, it's easy to get overwhelmed and not make a decision. When deciding on a location, it's best if each person comes to the call with 2 or 3 locations with one attraction for each location. If I asked my wife right now, she would come back with going to the beach in Florida, or going to the beach in Jamaica, or going to the beach in Costa Rica. My wife seriously loves going to the beach, but you get the idea. There are 3 seasons that affect the quality of your experience depending on when you choose to book your trip. The first is peak season. Peak season is like going to Disney World during the summer. That's when everyone else is doing it. Peak season is when you'll encounter the largest crowds and the least competitive pricing. Second is the off season. The off season is the worst time to travel to a location. The first time I visited Chicago was during the first week of March. I traded in 70-degree Texas weather for a high of 6 in Chicago. Downtown Chicago in the winter is not a good time. Last, we have shoulder season. Shoulder season combines good weather with less competition from crowds. That would be like visiting Jamaica between April and July. Shoulder season is the optimal time to visit if you have the time freedom to plan a trip. Keep these definitions in mind when looking up locations. The group may be able to score a pretty awesome deal if we pick the right place at the right time. Once everyone presents their ideas, we can look up transportation costs like plane tickets and come to a consensus on where we want to go. That brings us to our next part, attractions. I find it more fun to start with the dream and get everyone excited about the idea of traveling together than to go with the details of room and budget. Room and budget are very important, and we'll address it in the next step because it will make or break your travel plans. But first, let's take some time to dream. The best way I found for this to work is for everyone to do their own independent research to find attractions. This can be anything from beaches to local attractions, museums, amusement parks, and sporting events. Don't forget to include hours of operation and the days of the week each venue is open. I've had some experiences where an attraction was open Thursday through Sunday, but the only available day that we had to visit was Wednesday. Gather as many ideas as possible and let the group decide what activity they'd like to do and when. I also recommend planning a day where everyone splits up based on interests and do their own thing. In fact, I'm willing to say it's healthy to get away from each other for a few hours and then plan to meet up for dinner to swap stories. We don't have to be together 24/7 to have a great time as a group. Lastly, I'm going to be talking about vacation style and budget. The final step is where we put it all together. But before we lock in those dates and activities, let's take some time to consider everyone's vacation style. This can make or break your vacation, especially when planning group travel. Your vacation style is how you choose to spend your time and money while on vacation. In fact, it has the most influence on how you spend your money. This is something most people don't think about because we're used to traveling with family or just one person, so it's easier to come to an agreement on how time should be spent. Think about your past couple of vacations. Was most of your time spent seeing sightseeing or relaxing? Do you enjoy going on tours, or are you more interested in the nightlife? These are important questions that may offer a clue to what your ideal vacation looks like. It is very likely your friends may have other ideas than you'd expect for how they want to spend their time. What's worked best for me is to lay out my ideal vacation and give them a day or two to dream up their own getaway. I'm a morning person. My wife isn't. Our first vacation together, she let me know up front that she planned on sleeping until 12 p.m. She doesn't do that anymore, but it was important that the expectation was set so I know not to bother her if I wanted to slip out and catch sunrise at 5 a.m. Accommodating everyone's needs so no one ends up disappointed with how they spent their time is the most important part of the step. Communicate those needs and give your friends the space to communicate theirs, even if they need a day or two to think about it. This is where the important details of travel is planned. Start with the basics: hotel, food, and transportation. It's easy to narrow the search where you plan to stay after picking activities. It makes sense to stay close to where the majority of your activities are happening if you can afford to. For some people, the hotel you stay at is part of the vacation experience. For others, it's strictly a place to sleep at the end of the day. Depending on how everyone's goals are aligned, there are many accommodation solutions, from staying in the same room to getting rooms down the hall or staying at different hotels entirely. It's up to you. You could also book an Airbnb to cut costs or stay at some place way nicer than a typical hotel. Airbnb also gives you the benefit of cooking meals if you choose to instead of having to eat out 3 meals a day. That brings me to my next point: food. I'm the kind of guy who has to start the day off with breakfast. Other people are content with coffee or may skip breakfast entirely. It's okay to have separate plans when it comes to food. While eating together may save time, the trade-off you'll have to make is that the pickiest eater pretty much dictates where you eat. My best advice is to try to coordinate everyone eating something before an activity. That way everyone eats at around the same time and nobody gets a hunger headache during an activity, because that's no fun. I'll wrap this up by talking about transportation. In America, it's a default to think that you'll need a rental car wherever you go. For most cities in America, that's true. But there are some exceptions. Do your research, especially when traveling abroad, to see what your options are when it comes to transportation. Think about road conditions when picking a vehicle. If you're expecting less maintained roads, maybe rent a car that won't be damaged as easily if you run over a pothole. Following these steps will set you on the path to having an enjoyable vacation that you'll remember for all the right reasons. Because that's what's most important, spending quality time with the people you care about. I learned that my vacation style was different from my friends the hard way. Click this video to find out how.